Welcome to Strongbrook Radio, leveling up with today's thought leaders. What you're about to hear are powerful insights, entertaining stories, and life-changing principles from some of the most innovative minds in the world today. This is Strongbrook Radio. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. This is Stephen Michael Miller. So glad to have everyone here listening in and tuning into Strongbrook Radio. If this is your first time with us, I want to give you a warm welcome. If you've been here before, a huge welcome to you as well. So glad to have you back. And as always, if you're learning things, share it with others. I mean, I love what we do here. This program is all about giving individuals insights, special tips and tricks, things that they can do to improve their lives. And if you're like me, you're constantly looking to better yourself, to find shortcuts, legitimate shortcuts from people that have gone on before you and have found out some systems or methods that they have been able to implement to just improve their lives, to improve their quality of life, to maybe improve their relationships or their businesses or their relationships with their children or whatever it might be, or even just to become a better person all around. And so I'm so excited with what we get to do here every single week. So welcome. That being said, I'd love to just jump right into what we're going to do today. And I'm so excited for the individual that we have here on the show. This is a woman by the name of Jenise McNair. And Jenise is just an unbelievable individual. I've had a lot of fun over the last few weeks getting to know her a little bit more. But she's the founder of a woman organization, WCIA, which stands for Woman Conquering It All. Now, I'll tell you, for a father of four daughters, I mean, I've got three sons as well, but father of four daughters, I definitely want my daughters to learn how to conquer it all. And my wife is just an unbelievable woman, so I'm really excited to hear about this. But this organization is really to show women that no matter what they're going through or what they've gone through, they can conquer any situation in their lives with the right mindset. She is a firm believer that you can't conquer what you don't confront. We'll talk more about that. She encourages women today to start looking within themselves, deal with any challenges that they may have head on. And since she was younger, she knew that she had a passion and wanted to help others. She's a Sunday school teacher and loves to teach children to dance, sing, worship. She's also a mother of three beautiful children, 2 girls and 1 boy. She's also a sister and aunt, a daughter of one of the greatest men that she knows. She says always, obviously, huge props to her father. And she considers herself a very compassionate person. She loves to see people winning in life, and even better, she loves to convince the ones that think that they don't stand a chance, that they're more than their conquerors and overcomers. So she enjoys sharing her life experiences with others, enjoys encouraging them that failure only leads to victories with the right attitude. I love that concept. And really, she's used her own life experiences to overcome situations, which has allowed her to look at life in a very positive way and has challenged her to be better every single day. Most importantly for her, she's a daughter of God who continues to show, who continues to show her that all things are possible. I believe in the same God, so I'm excited about that. And also, she's currently working on a book, Potential of a Man versus Truth. So without any further ado, Jenise, are you there?
I am. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Jenise, so great to have you here on the line with us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to bless us and help us to learn some things that you've gone through and what you've been able to do to now help other individuals. And I do want to say this, maybe starting off, that these principles that we're going to talk about, although I know that a lot of your focus is on women, I would encourage any man that's here tuning in right now not to tune out. Hang tight. You're also going to want to have this information, not for just yourself, but to empower those other women in your life as well. So with that, Jenise, before we get into everything, maybe we could just start at the beginning with you. And, sometimes I like to talk about funny stories or embarrassing moments, but, really what I think I want to do is I just want to jump in into maybe what brought you here in the first place. Talk to us maybe about, and again, I just feel like I want to just jump right into it.
Yeah, no problem.
Talk to me about maybe, one of your hardest moments in life. and how that brought you to where you are today, and how that's kind of instigated this desire for you to help other women.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Stephen, like you said, I hope the guys don't tune out because I mean, a lot of my principles don't just go to women. I mean, it's everybody. I mean, like I said, I talk a lot about your mindset and being positive and those concepts. So again, it's not just for women, but because I am a woman, I am able to identify with certain things, you know. So I
Definitely.
just wanted to put that out
Yeah,
there.
no, thank
But
you.
so guys, don't go anywhere. So, but for me, Stephen, I mean, probably one of the hardest moments I've had so many. I feel like they're pretty much all on the same scale. But I will talk about this particular one, and then I can go into others. But for me to be where I am right now, I ended up being in a very verbally abusive relationship, and it got to the point where I really didn't know how I ended up there. I mean, I've come from a two-parent household, middle class. I had a brother and a sister. I was loved, and you know, my parents raised me very well. So to get to a point where I was in this abusive relationship, and a lot of times, you know, we are so quick to judge people. I know when you see things on TV or we watching movies, or you even might hear about it. You hear about women being in abusive relationships, and the first thing you say to mind is, you know, why won't they leave, or why are they staying there taking it? And you know, it's easier said than done. But when you're actually that person walking in the shoes, you know, there's a lot of factors that cause women. Or even men. I mean, even men are in abusive relationships, but it's a lot of factors that cause women to feel like they can't leave. You know, one, we already are, you know, emotional and nurturers, and we're believers, and a lot of times we believe that the situation is going to change, and a lot of times that makes us stay. Children are factors. You know, you think about the children, you think about separating the family. You think about the income. You know, if I leave, how am I going to be able to take care of these children on my own? You know, I'm going to struggle. You know, that causes a person to stay. You start thinking about, you know, will I be able to do this on my own? Will I be able to disconnect from this person? I mean, I don't know. And a lot of times, you know, you get caught up in as many TVs that I've seen and a lot of movies that I've seen. I never thought that I would end up in that place. I mean, my father, he treated me like a princess. I mean, dates when I was little, rings and everything. So I just never thought that I would be in a place where I would be verbally abused and belittled, and a lot of things that caused me to just be like, wow, you know, I can't believe I'm in this situation. And
Jenise,
so then it,
can I ask you a question on that?
uh-huh,
Just to
absolutely.
slow it down for a second, because man, I think this is such a, first of all, powerful moment that any of us can learn from. You know,
Absolutely.
verbal abuse is something that I think is rampant out there, and you know, I think it's more so, it's more common probably with women than it is for men. Meaning, more women are stuck in an abusive relationship, maybe, than men. At least that's my belief. Maybe I'm wrong, but um, were there signs? Do you, you know, when you look back and you look at your life and how you kind of, how you got to where you were in that relationship, were there early on signs that you maybe ignored, do you think, or you know, things that you could have done differently that you can help other people to recognize early on?
Absolutely. A lot of times we like to ignore the signs. You know, for me, we talked about a lot of things that took place in his life, and it was a lot of things that he was hurting with. And you know, a lot of times we feel like we can fix people, we can change people, we
Sure.
can save people in a sense, and you can. I mean, that's why I enjoy helping people, but you have to want to help yourself. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for me, I was a very compassionate person. I mean, growing up, I used to always be the one that listens. I'm always the one giving advice. That was always me. And I
Right.
think at the time, I lost my mother. She passed away from a very rare disease. Only 300,000 people were diagnosed with it. It's called scleroderma, and it came out of nowhere. And, you know, when she passed away, I didn't deal with grieving. I kind of ran from my problems, and
Yeah.
I ended up in a situation where I just wanted to be happy. I needed something to block that void of, you know, losing my mother. And it's a lot of signs that was shown to me when I decided to get into this relationship that I thought, hey, I'm going to put my cape on And I know I can change this person. I know because I'm a good person, and I know that my positive ways are going to rub off on this person. And, I kind of took it on head on thinking that I could change this person. And
Yeah.
it got really, really bad. I mean, it was about 5 years, and it came to a head when I went to the doctors after having my third child, and I got this EKG test, which tests your heart. And, my test came back abnormal, and I took the test probably about 5 times before, and it always came back normal. Well, this particular time, it came back abnormal, and the doctor called me back in, and I came in, and she told me, Miss McNair, you are being diagnosed with a heart condition. And the heart condition was called a tricuspid. It's when the right valve to your heart, it closes up, which makes it hard for you to breathe.
Yeah.
And she was like, who are you arguing with? Who are you fighting with? Because you're yelling, you're screaming, you're causing a stress on your heart. She was like, this isn't good. And at that very moment, Stephen, I knew that I had to do something. I mean, I had to find the strength. I had to find the courage, because I knew I needed to be here for my children.
Yeah.
And I had to find a way deep within to say, okay, Jenise, you're going to have to overcome this, and you're going to have to walk away. And with that decision, I knew that I was going to struggle financially. I had 3 kids that I had to take care of. I knew that, I had to think about, how did I get here? And when I left, I really had to dig deep, Stephen. I really had to ask myself, Jenise, how did you get here? You have to figure out how you got here so that you won't end back up here again.
Yeah.
And Stephen, I looked in a mirror and I said, Jenise, you got to dig deep. I mean, a lot of times people don't like to move backwards, and they don't like to reopen their past. And it's okay to leave your past behind you, but it's only if you really had closure, and it's only if you feel like your past hasn't haunted you, and you know that your past hasn't defined you, and you know that you're using your past for your good. A lot of times we run from our past and it haunts us.
Yeah.
It's like a slow leak
Yeah.
that leaks into our future, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? And it's because you haven't really closed and sealed the door in your past. And you know what, Stephen? I had to open up a door that I never, well, wasn't really closed, but I had to move backwards. And I had to say, Jenise, you're dealing with something. You're dealing with something that's causing you to be really compassionate about people that's hurting. When people hurt, I feel some type of way. I feel like I need to do something. But it's only because I was feeling sorry for myself, Stephen. I was hurting myself. And I'm able to identify with people that are going through things, because internally I was going through things. I was hurting. And I
Yeah.
don't think I recognized it because I was running from it.
Right.
So, Stephen, I looked in the mirror and I said, Jenise, you're going to have to deal with this. If you want to get better, if you want to be a better mother, you want to be a better person, you're going to have to you're going to have to, confront what the issue is. You can't conquer what you don't confront. And Stephen, I had to open up this door. I was molested by a family friend when I was 6 or 7 years old. For 22 years, I was holding this in.
Wow.
I didn't tell my mother. I didn't tell my father. Even at that time, at 6 and 7 years old, I felt enough obligation to say, oh, I don't want my parents to feel hurt. I knew it was something bad. I didn't know I was being molested, but I knew it was something bad. And I did not want my parents to feel hurt from it. I didn't want the drama. I didn't want them to have to deal with it. So I took it on. It was my own burden that I carried at 6 and 7 years old.
Yeah.
I carried it myself for 22 years.
Wow.
I never cried about it. I never talked about it. Once I actually realized that I was a victim of molestation, I every time I heard anything about being molested, I cut it off. I didn't want to listen to it.
Sure.
If I heard it on the radio, I cut the radio off.
Right.
I was running from it. And it caused me to have this sympathy, and it caused me to feel like I had to save everybody. Even when the situation was out of my hands, I felt like, I could take control of the situation, and I couldn't. So one day I said, you know what? I'm no longer going to let this defeat me. I'm no longer going to let this have power over me. And, I sat down, I told my father, which was very hard. I mean, to tell a parent that something like that happened to their children or their baby girl. I didn't want him to question whether or not he was a good father. I didn't want him to question what he was to me as a father and a man to his family. So I had to pray about that, and I cried for the 22 years that I never cried. I had to cry all over again. It was like I was moving backwards and starting all over again. I had to cry about it. I had to talk about it. I had to, really get it out of my system. And I had to accept the fact that, you know what? Yes, this happened to me, but it doesn't define me. And I'm no longer going to let this, be a reason why I fail.
Right, right.
And I started doing things. I started to read. I started to pray. I started to look up, different people that suffered from the same thing. I started reading Joyce Myers. She's a pastor. She was sexually molested by her father. The thing about life is, no matter what it is that you're going through, and no matter how bad you think it is, there's somebody else that's probably going through something even worse. And the thing is, you want to kind of figure out, well, what did they do to get through it? What did they do to overcome it? So that's what I started to do. I started to read. I started to, pray more. I started to just really try to develop within myself. I wanted to make myself whole. I wanted to work on things that I knew that I needed to get better. I needed to grieve about my mother. I was running from that. I was running from being molested. I had to deal with the fact that I was, in this abusive relationship, and I had two daughters. And it's like, I would never want my daughters to feel like it's okay to be in this type of situation. I had to forgive myself with that. I had to, the financial struggle that I was going through by making the decision to leave. I had to deal with that. I mean, it was a lot of things that I had to overcome. But you know what? I did it. And I told myself, okay, Jenise, I'm going to challenge myself mentally and physically. And I told myself, a mother of three, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to run a marathon. I never ran a marathon ever in my life. I never knew I could run past 2 miles. And I said, you know what? Everything in life is based off of a choice. I feel like the greatest gift in life is the ability to choose. And it's either you're going to choose to let your past defeat you, or you're going to choose to let your past and your life experiences bring you to victory.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to run this marathon. I know I feel like it's impossible, but you know what? Everything starts in the mind. Once you renew your mind and tell yourself what you can do, you would do it. And a lot of times, a lot of people talk themselves out of whatever it is that they want to do before they even do it. I mean, it's kind of like the thought comes up, and then it's like, oh, no, I can't do it. And then that's it. And running this marathon changed my life. I mean, it was really a process. You see people, and for me, life is a beginning, a middle, and end. And a lot of times people look at the end point of people's lives. You see them as CEOs, you see them as, successful business people, and, but you don't know what their middle was like. You don't know what they had to endure. You didn't know what they had to persevere through. You don't know the nights that they were frustrated and the nights they thought about giving up. Everybody has a process.
Yeah, I heard a quote just a couple days ago, and I've heard it before, but I heard it again, and it kind of made me chuckle. It said, behind every overnight success story is a decade of hard work, or something something like that, So, I'd love to just for a second, because wow. First of all, thank you for sharing that story and for being so vulnerable here for our listeners on Strongbrook Radio. I think there are so many individuals, and the more I get out there and the more people I talk to, the more I understand, along the lines of what you said a little bit earlier, that we're all suffering and experiencing a lot of the same trials, and they come in different forms and different ways, and different experiences, but a lot of us are going to experience a lot of the same things. And so being able to reach out to those people that have experienced those things, it really can be a huge strength. Can you talk a little bit about really where your motivation came from? What in those darkest moments, in those places where sometimes we feel like the whole world is colluding against us, and we've got all these different things happening, and in your case, not to, dig up things, but your mother passing away, you being in that abusive relationship, facing a lot of those demons of being molested as a child, and all these things kind of coming together almost, at the same time, it seems. A lot of people choose um, a lot of people will choose or believe that they're just a victim and that they can't get out of it. And and they'll choose this belief that, hey, this is just what it is and what I am, and that'll lead them down a very, very dark path. What motivated you to go the opposite direction? What gave that fire? What burned inside, and that helped you to really overcome that and step out of it?
Well, you know what, Stephen? The greatest thing about hitting rock bottom is that there's only one way for you to go, and that's the top. I mean, you've already hit rock bottom. I mean, here I am. I lost my mother. I mean, it's my mother. It's the woman who gave me birth. I mean, I was 23 years old. I never imagined to not have her by my side. And I had to endure that and being
Yeah.
molested and an abusive relationship and financial struggle. I mean, I really felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I felt like, how am I going to be able to win in life? And you know what, Stephen? Right then and there, I said, for my children, for women across the world, for the simple fact that the God that I believe in, I started to pray. I started to put up signs in my room. Jenise, you will not fail. Jenise, you are an overcomer. Jenise, every day I just started to just renew my mind. Every day I kept saying, I've already hit the bottom. I can only get better from here. I can only get better. I told myself that I was going to use my life experience to help others. It's always been embedded in me. I mean, no matter what I've gone through in life, I've never took it out on people. I never had this attitude towards life like, I don't want to talk to nobody. Oh, I can't stand being around anybody. It was the total opposite for me. As much as hurt that I've gone through, I still had compassion towards people. I still had compassion towards, people who needed help. So for me, my motivation came from me having children to show them, like, in life, I know that everything is not going to go the way you want it to go. Everything is not going to go the way you want things to be planned out. But the thing is, you got to persevere through it. You got to be strong. And you find that strength within, Stephen. I mean, when I was running that marathon, a lot of people, you think that you're always going to have somebody to motivate you. And you're not. When I was out there running 12 or 14 miles in a hot sun and I wanted to stop, I had to be the person to say, Jenise, keep going. I had to reach inside within, and I had to be my own motivator. I had to be my own motivation to push myself to not give up. I did not want to give up. I've already experienced probably the worst things that you can think of. And it was like, why do I want to give up now? Why do I want to give up now? Why? I mean, I used my life experiences to push me to where I am now.
Right.
And it helped me because it was like, okay, all these years, you know, I felt like a cloud was over my head and it was stopping me from where I needed to be. And now I use it for the greater good. Now I use it so that I can help the people around the world and show people that it's possible. It's possible to dig within yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to show, everyone that may think that, I'm a failure in life, or, she's never going to be able to overcome it, that you can overcome anything that you put your mind to. Everything starts in the mind. And when I really understood that it started in my mind, everything starts in your mind first, that's when I knew, okay, I can do this. I can do this. As long as I remain positive, as long as I persevere through this, I can do it. And every day, Stephen, you take one day at a time. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that it's going to be done overnight, but it's one day at a time. Every day is a new day to start again. If you woke up this day and you was a little down and you feel like it kind of got the best of you, guess what? You wake back up the next day. It's a new day to start again. It's a new day to fight. It's a new day to just, endure whatever it is that's coming your way.
I
And
love it.
and that's the attitude that I took.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I know that, there's days where you have your moments and you cry and you're asking, why did this happen or why did this happen? But guess what? Every day is a new day to start again.
I
It
love
really
that.
is.
I love that. Yeah, what a first of all huge example. To really dig deep and find that inner motivation. On a previous show, we mentioned, I was talking to somebody. We mentioned a book, A Man's Search for Meaning, by Dr. Viktor Frankl, and this is a guy that went through such horrific experiences in the concentration camps in Germany. He's a Jewish survivor of those concentration camps. And he talked about his why. And the reason why he felt he actually made it through is because he found that inner motivation. He found that strength. He found that reason why he wanted to actually exist and make it through that trial. I mean, for you mentioned, obviously, your children being a big motivation. You mentioned wanting to help other people be that huge motivation. And I'd love to take this time for a second to talk about now what you're doing out there to help so many other individuals, and specifically how, your women's organization, WCIA, how that's helping women all across the nation right now. Can you go a little bit more into that organization and what you're doing there?
Absolutely. With the processing and things that I've gone through, and I look back and I, realize where I used to be and where I am now. I felt like in order to move forward, I just didn't want to move forward. I wanted to grab others and move forward with me. And I wanted to use my life experiences to encourage women, to empower women, to motivate women, and to just really be that voice for women to know that you can conquer whatever it is and whatever life challenges that have presented, themselves in your life, you can overcome it. So one day, I was just like, I'm going to start a women's organization. I'm just going to jump out there and I'm just going to do it. And, it was a bit scary. I mean, it was something that I kind of, I prayed about it and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And I was on Facebook and I kind of just reached out to hundreds of my friends and I kind of put it out there. Look, you guys, I'm starting a women's organization where, it's a place for me. When I was in my abusive relationship, I had no one to talk to, at least no one to talk to that I felt like wouldn't judge me. And I had to hold all that in by myself. I had no one to talk to. I didn't feel like I can talk to anybody. So I know how it felt then. And now I wanted to have somewhere for women to come and be able to hear other people's story. And the thing is, you don't have to tell anyone what you're going through. You can just be there in the presence of hearing other women overcome their situations, other women encouraging women. I mean, a lot of times you see a lot of women, putting other women down, or there's always a lot of fights and arguments about things that doesn't even matter. And it's like, why not get a room full of women that will use their strength? Because your struggle might be somebody else's strength, and their struggle might be your strength. So why not
Definitely.
come together and empower each other and encourage each other? Why can't we use our strengths to push each other to the top? Why does it just have to be you at the top? Why do you feel like the person next to you don't deserve to be up there with you? So my meetings, when we have them, we talk about different subjects. So the last meeting I had was being accountable for your own happiness. You holding yourself accountable for your own happiness, nobody else. Not saying, oh, I'm not happy because of this, or I'm not happy because of this person, but truly holding yourself accountable for your own happiness. What is it that you can do to be happy? Matter of fact, what's causing you to be unhappy right now? Let's start there. And a lot of times we ignore the truth that's within us, because the truth hurts sometimes. It really
It
does.
sure does sometimes, doesn't
It
it?
really, it really does. I mean, I didn't want to be a victim of being molested. I mean, I didn't want to admit, Jenise, yes, you were molested at 7 years old. This is something that you're going to have to accept. I didn't want to admit that. I didn't want that to be a part of my truth, but it was. And that's what my organization is all about, is reaching deep within to change for the better. Whatever it is that's causing you to feel like you're being defeated, you're going to, approach it head on. You're gonna conquer it, because you can't conquer the things that you're running from. You just can't. So when I had these meetings and everybody takes turns to talk, people write down, we do a lot of writing down where we want to be, or we write down, just so that people aren't embarrassed, or, they don't have to share, what it is that they're going through, but just being in that setting and knowing I'm not the only person that feels defeated right now. I'm not the only person that's going through this struggle, or I'm not the only person that's not where I think I should be in life. That motivates you to know that you're not the only one fighting. Yeah, your situation may not look like my situation, but guess what? We both have to fight for what we believe that we should have. And that's just what my organization is all about. I want to speak to women across the world. That's my goal, to speak to women across the world, to speak to men across the world. It's everything starts in the mind. It really does. When you renew your mind and you have a positive attitude, I mean, it changes your life forever. It really does.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I really appreciate that, and what I mean, it's so super powerful. I want to go into something that you talked about just a little bit earlier, and maybe just take a couple minutes to expound on this just a bit. But you talk a lot about life being a process, and as you're working with different women. And in your organization, how do you use that idea that life is a process to help individuals through what it is that they're going through and help them to come out conquering it all?
So this is what really, when I ran the marathon, that's when it really hit me that life is really a process. I didn't just run a marathon. I trained and went through the process and prepared myself to be able to run a marathon. And that's what life is about. Life is a process. There's things and steps that you're going to have to overcome and go through in order to get to the next step. And that's kind of what I present to my ladies. I let them know, okay, this is where we are. And to get to this step, you might have to reach in your past and bring up something that's going to cause you to, move backwards and bring more pain or bring more tears. But once you conquer that, you move forward to something else that's going to prepare you for, that journey that you're going on to reach your destiny. And, like I said, it's the beginning, it's the middle, and the end for me. The beginning is always exciting. You don't know what to expect. Like I said before, the middle is where all of the sleepless nights, oh my gosh, I can't take this, and how am I going to get through this? And, that's the middle is the part where everyone gives up. The middle is the part where everyone feels like, oh, this is just too much, I can't take it. But it's just a part of your process. It's just a part of life that's preparing you for the next step ahead of you. That's it. When I was running 3 miles, the 3 miles hurt, but it was only preparing me so that I can go to 4 miles.
Yeah.
When 6 miles hurt, it was only preparing me so that I can get to 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And it was a process. And yes, it was days, like I said, that no one was out there rooting me on. It was days that I wanted to quit. It was days that I wanted to give up, but I had to find my own self-motivation. I had to be my own cheerleader, and that's what life is about. Yes, you can put yourself in a position to always be around people with your answer and not your problem. You hang around people that, if you see that there's somewhere that you want to be, figure out what they did to get them there.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. So that's how I kind of, talk to my ladies when I say that life is a process. When I ran my marathon, it really put things in perspective for me. It showed me that that's just really how life is. We all have processes. It's a process to get to your destiny, and a lot of times, we give up before we even get to the next step. And we think that, life is so hard on us, but it's only to prepare us for what's to come. That's all.
Yeah.
It's only to prepare us for what's to come. And when you look at it in that way and you have a positive attitude about it, then you're able to deal with it a little better. But if you feel like, oh, it's doing this and it's driving me crazy and I can't take it and I'm never going to get to where I'm going to go and I'm never going to get out of this step. When you have that type of attitude, then you're kind of beating yourself up. But when you really have an understanding that, okay, this is where I am. Yeah, it's getting the best of me a little bit, but I'm gonna keep persevering. I'm gonna keep fighting because I know that it's only preparing me for what's to come. It's only preparing me for the greatness that I'm going to walk in. That's it.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. And I mean, what a powerful concept. And I think if we can all really internalize this idea that life is a process, then when we get to those really big trials, rather than feeling like you said that, man, life is just over, man, I can't get past this, or I don't know how, we can think, hey, this is just a step. This is just the next step in my progress for me to become that person that I want to be, and it'll be over soon, right? Sometimes there are, these trials take longer than others, and we might get stuck or in that situation for just a bit. But if we can recognize that, hey, this is just part of the process, I'm gonna make it out okay. It's just a little bit further, or whatever that looks like. Then all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like the weight of the world is on us.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I love that. Well, Jenise, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're coming here to the end of the show, and I'd really love, do you have any final words or final things of advice that you can give to our listeners that they can take home and start implementing today?
Absolutely. The best thing that you can do is really just tell yourself, I'm going to change the way that I think. If you're that person that is a little bit hard on yourself, or that person that's always thinking negative, I want you to really just renew your mind. Everything is a process. If you've been doing something like this for a long period of time, then of course it's not going to happen overnight. But you just have to start somewhere. You really just have to dig deep within and really tell yourself, you know what, I've been doing things this way and it's not working. So I really need to change my mindset. I really need to renew my mind and know that whatever it is that I'm trying to do in life, I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to be my own motivation, and I'm going to figure out what it is that I need to do to get through these different steps of this process to get to where I need to be. I mean, life it could be a salt shaker, it could be life is a beautiful thing, though. It really is, because it makes you the person that you were really called to be. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing when you can overcome something and you can bring someone up with you, or you can tell someone, I've been where you are, and guess what? You don't have to stay there. You don't have to be in that place. I know what it feels like to be in that same spot that you're in. And guess what? You can be up here. You can be on top. You don't have to stay there. But you have to believe it. Yeah. I want everyone to start believing, in yourself, then everyone around you can believe in you. But if you don't honestly and truly believe in yourself, then you will remain in that same spot. So you start believing in yourself. You start renewing your mind. You start thinking positive. You start changing your old habits and start making new habits. Write things down so that when you wake up, you look at a note on a wall that says, you know what, I'm an overcomer. I'm this, I'm that. And you start to feed your spirit, and you start to feed within yourself. You start believing, Yeah. So.
Fantastic. Well, again, I can't say thank you enough. I'm so grateful for you, Jenise, and taking time to be with us here on Stromberg Radio. So, again, thank you so much for taking that time.
Absolutely. It was my honor to be here.
Awesome. Well, everybody, again, this is Stephen Michael Miller with Stromberg Radio. I've been on with Jenise McNair, the founder of the women organization WCIA, which stands for, again, Women Conquering It All. If you want to learn more from Jenise, then come on and see more about what she's doing in the Mentoring Network. We're so excited to have her as one of our mentors in the Mentoring Network. And there's just a whole lot more to come with that as well. So, again, what an amazing show we had today. For anyone that's struggling, that wants to overcome, that wants to conquer it all, like Jenise said, just start with those little things every day. Start influencing the way that you think. Start changing the way that you think about yourself. And if you'll do that, you'll find yourself on a completely different trajectory than you were before. And all of a sudden, you start to see that your life is becoming like the life that you wanted it to be, rather than being in that victim mode of just accepting that things are just happening to you. So with that, again, this is Stephen Michael Miller with Strongbrook Radio. So glad to have you on. If you've liked this show or any other of our shows, please share this with other people. Get this information into the hands of those that need it most. Be willing to just give it away. It's a free gift for everyone anyway. And with that, I just want to say have a fantastic week. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.